Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a powerful idea that's been hiding in plain sight for well over a century and a half. It's a totally different way of looking at the root cause of so many chronic health conditions. This one concept, right here, it changes everything. It suggests that health isn't really about fighting a specific disease. It's about systematically fixing the environment, the biological terrain inside your own body. And look, this isn't some new age idea that just popped up. Nope. It's actually built on a solid foundation of incredible science. Science that has, for some reason, been almost completely overlooked for 160 years. It's like a trail of breadcrumbs left by giants. You've got Claude Bernard in the 1860s, proving the internal environment is key. Then Anton Bechamp shows that germs change based on that environment. Even Louis Pasteur, the father of germ theory, admitted on his deathbed that the terrain is what truly matters. And then Otto Warburg wins a Nobel Prize linking cancer to a breakdown in how our cells make energy. 4 different brilliant minds, all pointing to the same thing. So you have all these clues, right? All these pieces of the puzzle just sitting there for decades. But it wasn't until very recently, in the 2020s, that someone finally put them all together into a single, clear framework that we can actually use. And that researcher is Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer. With 3 decades of clinical experience, he took that 160 years of science and spotted a pattern. He identified what he calls the 3 biological failures, a root cause pattern that seems to drive pretty much every chronic disease we see today. Okay, so to make this really concrete, let's stop talking theory and look at a real-world example. We're going to examine the case of an anonymous adult male who is really struggling with type 2 diabetes and just crushing chronic fatigue. Now, the key thing to understand here is that his problems didn't just pop up out of nowhere when he got a diagnosis. No. When you dig into his history, the real trouble started all the way back when he was 12 years old, with a severe malaria infection that left a hidden, chronic parasitic burden in his system for decades. This is what we call step 0. It's this deep, foundational problem, in his case, the parasites, that was completely missed by every conventional approach. It was the original insult to his biological terrain, and it was making everything else worse. And this is the perfect analogy for it. It's like having squatters living inside the walls of your house. They're eating your food, they're messing with the plumbing, and trying to fix the house is completely useless until you evict them first. They're actively undermining every single repair you try to make. Okay, so how does this step 0, this parasitic blockade, actually cause all the problems? Well, that's where we get to the core of the framework, the 3 biological failures that Dr. Bachmeyer identified. It's a cascade. It starts with a fire, which leads to the broken fuel line, which results in dead batteries. Let's break down exactly what that means, using our case study as the example. First up, you've got the fire. For this man, the parasites were basically a constant trigger for his immune system. Imagine a fire alarm that's just blaring 24/7 throughout your entire body. That's this low-grade systemic inflammation. It's just noise, jamming up all the important communication signals. And all that noise, all those alarm signals, that's what causes the next failure, the broken fuel line. The cell receptors, they get so bombarded by the inflammatory signals that they essentially go deaf. They can't hear the signal from insulin anymore, which is the key that unlocks the door to let fuel, glucose, inside. And you know what happens when you can't get fuel into the engine, right? It stalls. That's exactly what's happening inside his cells. The power plants, the mitochondria, they're starved of fuel. They can't produce ATP, the body's energy currency. The result? Dead batteries, a total system-wide energy crisis, which is exactly why he had that debilitating fatigue. Now, here's the really devastating part. These 3 failures, they're not just a 1, 2, 3 punch. They actually lock together to create a trap, a vicious, self-perpetuating cycle that just gets worse and worse over time. Let's walk through it. The fire jams up communication. That leads to the broken fuel line, which starves the cells. That causes the dead batteries. But here's the kicker. When the batteries die, they throw off all this molecular shrapnel called oxidative stress, which creates even more of the fire. And the whole vicious cycle starts all over again, but stronger this time. And for the man we're talking about, it was even worse. That step 0 parasitic blockade, it was like a massive amplifier for the whole cycle. It was constantly triggering the immune system, basically just pouring gasoline on the fire, making this a 4-layer cycle of collapse that was incredibly difficult to break. And this is why just trying to manage his blood sugar never worked. It's like trying to bail out a boat that has a giant hole in it.
You're just managing a symptom. The real solution isn't symptom management. It's breaking the entire cycle and actually restoring the terrain.
Now, here's the most important part. The repair process it must follow an exact sequence. You cannot skip steps. You have to start with step 0. You have to evict the squatters first. Clearing that parasitic burden is what makes it even possible for the next steps to work at all.
So, how is this done? It's achieved through a very specialized and precise signaling process. The goal is to systematically cool the fire, then fix the broken fuel line, and finally recharge the dead batteries, all to allow the body to get back to its natural, healthy, self-regulating state.
So this really isn't about claiming a cure for any one disease. It's about asking a much deeper, more fundamental question. What is your body truly capable of when the obstacles are removed and its natural ability to self-regulate is finally restored?
The whole point of understanding this framework is to give you a new lens, a new way to understand what might be the specific biological failure pattern happening inside your own body. We do the research so you can take back control.
If any of this is resonating with you and you want to learn more about this research, about the science that underpins this entire framework, feel free to reach out directly to this email address. And finally, as always, please take a moment to review this important information. This is for educational and research purposes only and is not, of course, medical advice.